Okay, so in this experiment, we're going to be making some measurements of our different rods or cylinders that we have here. Specifically, what we're going to be doing is measuring the masses of these things. We're also going to determine their volumes, and we're going to plot that data on a graph in order to graphically determine what the densities of our samples are. Right, so we're going to choose two different samples that we have here, and in each of these we're going to select five, for instance of the black rods, we're going to select five of them that have fairly different sizes, right? We don't want to choose two that are really similar in size. So the first thing that we're going to do, if I choose my black one over here, is I'm going to measure the mass of this cylinder. Just like we did previously, we're going to zero our balance, and we can place our cylinder or our rod here directly on that balance itself, and we can measure its mass. How are we going to determine its volume though? Well, we can measure the volume of this rod by a technique known as displacement, right? So this works on the principle that if you completely submerge this object in water, for example, it will displace a volume equal to its own volume. So really simply, what we're going to do is we're going to add some water to our graduated cylinder. Right, so the instructions say to add around 20 milliliters. You want to make sure that you record exactly the volume that you start with, and then gently and carefully what we're going to do is we're going to not just drop our cylinder in, because then water can come splashing out and then you can actually break the graduated cylinder. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to tilt our cylinder at an angle, and we're going to gently slide that rod in there. So it goes in nice and slowly, and then what you'll notice, right, is that the volume now has actually increased. So we can measure that final volume using the tools of measurement that we've learned previously. We can then subtract that initial volume that we started from that final volume, and that will give you the volume then displaced, and that's equal to the volume of this particular rod. So we're going to repeat that process with several different sizes of that same material, maybe some smaller ones and some bigger ones, and we're going to generate a table. Once we get that table of masses and volumes, we're going to repeat that entire process with a different sample. Right, so we have several different rods here. We're going to choose 5 of these rods of different sizes, and we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to measure the volume displaced after we record the mass of each of these. And that data will be provided to you by your instructor.